With different activities, the Indigenous movement of Ecuador expressed its support for Conaie President Leonidas Iza, who will be tried on Monday, July 4th. Peruvian transport workers begin a new indefinite strike to demand the Peruvian government to take measures to ease the increase in fuel prices. And the United Nations warns that the conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region is leading to an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the Telesur studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Ecuador, the Confederations of Indigenous Nationalities mobilized in support of its president Leonidas Iza, who will be put on trial this Monday, July 4th. The concentration is planned in front of the judicial facility of Cotopaxi in support of the indigenous leader who will be tried in the La Tacunga judicial complex. The trial process against Leonidas Iza has been widely criticized after he was arrested during the first day of the national strike in a police action considered arbitrary by his defense. The national strike in Ecuador, which ended on June 30th, with the signing of the Peace Act, had the support of numerous social sectors who demanded the executive to respond to an agenda of 10 issues related to citizens' rejection of the increase in fuel prices, the cuts in education and health, illegal mining, insecurity, and privatization of strategic sectors. On Monday, CARICOM leaders held the 43rd regular meeting of the Caribbean Communities Conference of Heads of Government in Paramaribo in Suriname. The head of state will meet until Tuesday, July 5th. During the summit, the heads of government will examine agenda items such as advancing the CARICOM agri-food systems agenda, climate finance, security issues, matters arising from the 49th meeting of the Community Council, and an update on the COVID-19 and other emerging health issues. At the end of the three-day conference, regional leaders will ratify a number of decisions, issue a communique, and select the date of their next summit, which is scheduled to take place in the Bahamas. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, is expected to present a report on the CARICOM single market and economy. Peruvian transportation groups begin a work strike in order to reach an agreement with the government of President Pedro Castillo. The president of the Chamber of Urban Transportation of the regions of Lima and Callao, Ricardo Pareja, indicated the demonstration is due to the fact that the Peruvian executive did not attend to the measures to alleviate the increase in fuel prices and the crisis generated by the COVID-19. 5 transport company unions demand that the government provide them interest loans to pay for purchases made before the beginning of the pandemic. 40 years after the first Pride March in Bogota, thousands gathered at noon at the National Park Enrique Olaya Herrera, from where they left carrying flags of diversity, balloons, and banners to reach the Bolivar Square of the Colombian capital. At the central main square, there was a stage with the presence of dozens of artists, among them the Colombian band Monsignor Perrin. The mobilization is part of the activities that will take place until July 16th, within the framework of the festivity of equality, during which various cultural, sports, and academic events will be held. All this in a country that, despite the progress made by the LGBTIQ+ community, the Ombudsman's office reported that 33 of its members have been murdered in 2022, which represents an average of 1 homicide per week.
That they respect us, that we are neither more nor less people simply because we have different tastes or different gender expression, that we are not imposing anything but simply trying to normalize what we are. More respect, more open-mindedness, more inclusion, but I think respect is the most important thing, that they see us not as a group but as a part of the whole humanity. We are all equal, we are all people.
In Chile, thousands of people marched this Sunday through the center of Santiago to ask for the regulation of cannabis in the country. Their demonstration marched through the Chilean capital under the slogan against drug trafficking, Grow Your Rights, Regulation for Peace. Participants in the march occupied the Alameda Avenue, the main artery of Santiago, to demand free consumption and harvesting of cannabis. Demonstrators asked to stop stigmatizing and criminalizing users. Chile's current anti-drug law establishes that the consumption, cultivation, and sale of cannabis is forbidden by law and constitutes a misdemeanor.
The use of cannabis, whether medicinal, recreational, or spiritual, needs to be regulated, legislated. There is a lot of scientific evidence to support the safe use of cannabis. It is important that today the worlds come together, not only of cannabis, but also of other substances, and that a new drug policy in Chile is put on the agenda of the executive, on the government's agenda, that a new drug policy is discussed, that users of substances are not criminalized, but that drug trafficking and organized crime are combated.
The President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, appointed Silvina Batakis as the new Minister of Economy, replacing Martin Guzman, who resigned last Saturday. According to government spokeswoman Gabriela Cerruti, the appointment of the new minister was made after a conversation between the President and the Vice President, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. Cerruti added that the new minister, a native of the province of Tierra del Fuego, is known for her academic work and highlighted her work in different positions such as Minister of the Province of Buenos Aires, Head of the Federal Trust Fund for Regional Infrastructure, and Secretary of Provinces of the Ministry of the Interior. For his part, Martin Guzman thanked the head of state for his confidence and acknowledged the multiple challenges this country faces due to the consequence of the debt contracted by Macri with the International Monetary Fund. We are taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov received his Venezuelan counterpart Carlos Faria in Moscow to discuss issues related to bilateral cooperation and the international situation. The ministers discussed current issues on the bilateral agenda, the deepening of Russian-Venezuelan cooperation in various fields, and coordination in the field of foreign policy. Foreign Minister Lavrov pointed out that his country would continue to support the government and the Venezuelan people in the defense of national sovereignty by all means. For his part, the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carlos Faria, thanked Moscow's mediation in dialogue between all the political forces in Venezuela.
We would also like to thank you, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the Russian government for support, political support, the support of national processes which are going in Venezuela. I mean, Russia's participation as a mediator in the talks with the Venezuelan opposition.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov praised the actions of the Venezuelan government that brought the country to the path of sustainable development.
We welcome the progressive normalization of the situation inside and around Venezuela, and we see how, thanks to the responsible and competent policy of the government, led by President Maduro, the country is returning to the path of sustainable development, and we will assist this in every way.
When asked about the mass expulsion of Russian diplomats from Bulgaria, the Russian minister said that Russia would respond in a mirror-like manner.
The people from Bulgaria illegally expelled our diplomats, declaring persona non grata. They, most of them, ensured. Now, after this excess, completely illegal, according to our assessment, according to the Foreign Ministry, the embassy is not able to work normally. Already now, naturally, we will reciprocate our Bulgarian colleagues.
In Uzbekistan, the General Prosecutor's Office reported that at least 18 people were killed amid riots in Karakalpakstan. A spokesman for the Prosecutor's Office said Monday that 18 people succumbed to serious injuries during the mass riots in the city of Nukus on July 1st and 2nd. Earlier, a spokesman for the Uzbek National Guard said 243 people were injured, 94 of whom were hospitalized. The protests were sparked by an attempt to make amendments to the country's constitution, which sought to strip Karakalpakstan of its status as a sovereign republic. However, this Monday, the parliamentarians decided to keep the articles referring to the territory unchanged. In Denmark, an attack by an armed individual in a shopping mall in Copenhagen on Sunday killed 3 people and wounded several others. The dead are a man in his 40s and 2 young men, while 3 of the wounded are in critical conditions. According to Søren Thomasen, chief inspector of the Copenhagen police, the police official confirmed the arrest of a 22-year-old men in connection with the shooting who will be questioned this Monday. He also informed that he sees no evidence of terrorism and maintains the homicide charge against the suspect detained after the shooting.
I would phrase it this way. It is correct that in the videos one can see things related to psychiatric treatments. Our suspect is also known among psychiatric services. Beyond that, I do not wish to comment. The three killed are a 17-year-old Danish man, a 17-year-old Danish woman, and a 47-year-old man with Russian citizenship who lives in Denmark.
Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated the military on the liberation of the self-proclaimed Lugansk People's Republic. During a meeting with the head of defense, Sergei Shoigu, the Russian president congratulated the Russian and Lugansk military for the liberation of the entire territory of the self-proclaimed republic. The president also promised to reward all the servicemen who distinguished themselves in this operation, thanked them for their work, and wished them further success. The Russian head of state also assured that the forces in Lugansk deserve a rest, while he called on the rest of the fronts to fulfill their pre-established objectives.
Military units, including the East Group and the West Group as well, must carry out their tasks according to previously approved plans. I hope that everything will go on in their direction the same way it happened in Lugansk so far.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said the offensive operation to liberate the territory of the self-proclaimed Lugansk People's Republic was successfully carried out.
An offensive operation to liberate the territory of Lugansk People's Republic was successfully carried out. Within 2 weeks, groups in the Gorsky Cauldron in the district of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk were surrounded and liquidated.
The 70 Russian diplomats expelled from Bulgaria left the country this Sunday together with their families. The measure had been announced at the end of June under the accusation of working for the secret services and using diplomatic activities as a facade. For her part, the Russian ambassador in Sofia, Eleonora Mitrofanova, declared that Moscow would respond with very drastic measures and mentioned the rupture of diplomatic relations. After the start of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine, many Western countries expelled diplomats and staff from Russian embassies, citing national security reasons or activities incompatible with the Vienna Convention. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. A young Palestinian man died Sunday after being shot and wounded by Israeli soldiers during a raid in the town of Jabaa, south of Jenin, in the occupied West Bank. Kamel Abdallah al-Wanani, 19 years old, died after Israeli forces shot him on Saturday. The young Kamel was named after his brother, who was also killed by Israeli forces in 2003. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry issued a statement condemning the murder of al-Wanani, calling it part of the daily series of crimes committed by the Israeli occupation forces. To date, 78 Palestinians have been killed by Israel since the beginning of 2022. After over 500,000 dead, the United Nations warned that the conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia is on the rise of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. According to data from the international organization, the armed struggle in Ethiopia has resulted in at least 13 million people in need of humanitarian aid, among them over 2.5 million displaced persons, and multiple allegations of war crimes, massacres, famine, and sexual abuse. In this context, the country's authorities have in recent days set up a team of 7 negotiators for a possible peace talks with Tigray forces. Gideon Timotheos, the Ethiopian Minister of Justice, said that the ruling party has drawn up plans to resolve the war in the north of the country peacefully. Suspected armed criminals killed at least 27 people in attacks on villages in northern Burkina Faso. 3 of the dead were members of the civilian militia, the Volunteers for the Defense of the Fatherland, an auxiliary force set up in December 2019 to support the army. The campaign, led mainly by groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State Republic, claimed thousands of lives and forced some 1.9 million people to flee their homes. Over 40% of the country lies outside the control of the government, according to official figures. Burkina Faso underwent a coup in January when disgruntled colonels ousted elected President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore. The new strongman, Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandoval Damiba, declared security to be his top priority, but after a relatively low, attacks resumed with the loss of hundreds of lives. Tropical storm Bonnie became a Category 1 hurricane this Sunday night off the Mexican Pacific coast, threatening to bring heavy rains to most of the southwestern part of the country. In its latest report, the United States National Hurricane Center reported that Bonnie was located some 335 kilometers south of the commercial and oil port of Salina Cruz in the Mexican state of Oaxaca, with maximum sustained winds of 130 kilometers per hour, while moving in a west-northwesterly direction at a speed of 28 kilometers per hour. According to forecasts, the hurricane could continue strengthening in the following hours until it reaches Category 2 on Monday. And after passing through Central America, Bonnie left at least 4 dead in Nicaragua and 2 in El Salvador. The tropical storm left hundreds of people displaced by the overflowing of rivers, which flooded houses and brought down trees, according to a preliminary balance in the affected countries. In Nicaragua, 4 people were reported drowned and 1 missing as a result of the flooding of rivers in the whole Nicaraguan territory, according to state media. While in El Salvador, Rescue Corps confirmed the death of 2 people. The country's authorities maintained the red alert in 42 municipalities of the country and suspended classes for this Monday. The number of missing hikers has risen to at least 20 after a glacier in the Marmolada in the Italian Alps broke off on Sunday, killing 6 people and injuring 9, according to Alpine rescue sources. According to the Emergency Medical Service of the Veneto region, the collapse of the glacier caused an avalanche of snow, rock and ice, which covered a road along which several groups of tourists were going up. Officials report that such collapse was caused in the country, with temperatures to go as high as 40 degrees Celsius during the daytime. So far, rescuers are still searching for 2,000 people affected by the avalanche, but the works have been hampered by the risk of new landslides. Helicopters and canine unions are participating in the rescue operation to find possible survivors. Rapidly rising rivers swam swaths of rain-lashed Sydney, Australia, forcing thousands to flee dangerous floods as the city's largest dam spilled torrents of water. On the 3rd day of the regional East Coast rains, emergency workers say they rescued over 80 people since the previous evening. Australia has been at the sharp end of climate change, with drought, deadly bushfires, bleaching events on the Great Barrier Reef, and floods becoming more common and intense as global weather patterns change. About 32,000 people were ordered to evacuate, the Emergency Services Department said, with the Army sending 100 troops to help operations in the storm-battered state. Heavy rains may persist for at least another 24 hours, forecasters said. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.